Alright, it looks like we are live. I believe we are. We'll find out. Okay. So let's jump in. This session we're going to be looking at taking that futuristic sofa of last week, making a high polygon version of it. Depending on time, I'd like to sort of do some retopology approaches. I might do that anyway, actually. So say, for example, take it the sofa as far as we can, but definitely cover the retopology side of it because it gets pretty samey. So I can have that done by the next session, which we can look at baking textures and stuff like that. So kind of like a half-half, regardless of where I get with the sofa. So let's jump in. Alright, so we have a blender. And futuristic sofa low. That's the one. Now, for some reason, the texture is wrong. It's gone pink for some reason. Well, actually, let's go to sofa and get rid of that because, yeah, we're going to do the high poly, so we might as well do everything sort of unique and stuff like that. Cool. Alright, so last week we made this, so feel free to check out last week's stream to see how that was made. This is basically a very low polygon. Let's have a look at that. Very low polygon asset that uses a very small texture. I think it was like 8 by 8 pixels to have one material with different areas on it. What we're going to do this session is actually update this one to look pretty much more accurate to this. So like the curves on the edges here, maybe some sort of what do you even call those? Creases or whatever. But the main thing is going to be sort of like the ends here, and a bit more detail across the board. Purely to make it cooler. Now the thing is, basically you can make whatever you want. The poly count doesn't matter at this point. So I'm actually going to save this as a separate thing because I don't want to get rid of the original. Do we want to... No, we'll keep it in the same one. Put it all together. Okay. Save. Alright. So when it comes to asset creation, there's a few different approaches. So I'm probably going to be focusing on just using multi-resolution, I think it's called, which just smooths everything that you do. That said, I might use the sculpt mode, which is up here, that allows you to do some cool stuff, not with very low polygons. I haven't actually done sculpt mode in Blender very much, but it's actually pretty good. There's tons of YouTube tutorials on using sculpting in Blender. Mainly because I use ZBrush. I've been using ZBrush since it's sort of like ZBrush 3, I think it was. So I'm more comfortable in that environment. That said, I do want to get used to Blender. Jumping outside Blender into ZBrush and then back is a bit annoying. So if you're doing sort of basic sculpting, then it's just better to stay in Blender. So let's have a look. I'm going to split this up again. I want to sort of create different assets so we can sort of control each one a little bit more. So just right mouse click and separate. So, as I was saying, sorry, before I got distracted by myself, you could sculpt and add that sort of functionality there quite easily. I think for this, most of this one, except for those creases or cloth things, we're going to be focusing on just using modifier to make things look a little smoother than they are. So just currently breaking up some of these elements. So if we get rid of those two, right. So choosing sort of what, I don't think I want to make everything cloth. I want to make some of it hard, like hard surface, and some of it sort of soft surface, I guess you could say. So what do I want to do with that? Let's close those off. Now, a lot of the controls are basically the same as last week. So right mouse click, merge vertices at last. I actually like that in Blender because it's sort of, I think it does it better. I don't know if Max and them, I haven't used them for a long time because Blender's just great. And I don't know if they've added it, but basically selecting multiple and then telling it which one to blend, to merge to is actually really cool. Big fan of that in Blender. Oh, that's interesting. I should clean that up. I can save some polygons. Let's see if that works. Not really. Oh, it kind of does. So I'm going to dissolve vertices and then knife that. I have to clean that up on the original. Save those 4 polygons. Okay. So I think I want that section to kind of be a hard surface. So I'm going to separate that one as well. Now, the thing is, you can add detail to hard surface, like bevels and things like that. So I'll be looking at that in a second. Just make sure I get it all. Don't forget to make it on X-ray mode if you're selecting assets, because then it goes all the way through. Let's separate that one. Okay. Now with a lot of these, we need to close them off. Now in that case I'm using F. F is super useful for all sorts of, what would you call it? Sub-D or subdivision polygon, where it can close shapes very quickly, among others. There are lots. What's going on with that one? There we go. I could save so many polygons in the low poly. I have to really clean that up. Alright. Now, what other things? I think I want these. I really got the hiccups. Hang on a second. Ah. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so I want this, or these two, to be high as well, I think. So let's get rid of those. Then we can remove those two as well. And then we just want to press F to close these two. Alright, I think these also might make those metal. So let's separate those. That's good. Might... How do I want to do this? Yeah, I'll just close them, I think. Now, the reason I'm closing the thought process there is, like, I'm going to use bevel on a lot of these. And this is where the edge loops come in handy, but because of the poly count, like to reduce that, I've sort of squared off a lot of these. So some of these might not work well, some of these might, so there's a lot of that going on. So on that though, because I just noticed that basically this is just a rectangle on its own, so we can actually get rid of that. So the thing is, to make this easier, you want to kind of just forget about poly count, and focus mostly on how do I make this easy with some of the approaches that we're going to be looking at. So because I kind of know the end goal, I kind of know where I'm going to be taking some shortcuts. But when it comes down to it, that just comes with time. Yeah, no, I'm going to separate this as well. And all of this will become apparent soonish. Maybe. There's some cleanup that I need to do. Oh, I missed some really small things. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Okay. So just all the glowy stuff there. That's fine. Separate that one. Now the reason I did that is because I can now take that and then just move it in a bit. So GX, I believe. And then we can sort of make that GY. Doesn't matter how far, as long as it's not too far in the middle. GY. And that one as well, I think. Hey, Digital Studio. I don't know how to add the start of that. That's what we want. GX. Yeah. There we go. Hey, welcome to the stream. What kind of 3D art do you do? Like, what's your MO? Is that what they say? I'm sure that's how they say it. Okay. Then Mona is the place for you. Okay, gotcha. Ah, okay, cool. So more of an avatars guy then? Or girl for that matter? I don't know. Person, if you will. Oh yeah, he's doing some cool stuff. Unfortunately, like, yeah, because of WebGL, cloth physics don't really work in a web page. So the cost of being able to just send a link to someone to see your space or your avatars versus what Unreal can do with MetaHuman and whatnot, it's pretty impressive. Do we want that to be hard? I think I do. I think I want that to hard surface. I'm going to get rid of that one. And we kind of have to grab that. Get rid of these. And then GX this one to there. For reasons. Alright, merge at center, that'll be fine. Okay. Yeah, so with WebGL, you definitely need to make the low poly. So, in this session, we're sort of looking at how to make a high poly and then convert that into a low poly. And we'll get to that, some of it. At the moment, I'm just sort of making this a high poly. And it takes a while. Like, I'm definitely not gonna be able to finish this in like two hours. But we can sort of start. So that's kind of what I'm going for with this. So I might actually, yeah, I kind of want that to be hard surface as well. So I'm gonna separate that one. Get rid of that for whatever reason that's there. I think that's good for the basics. Now it's a bit messy around there, but that's fine when we put these back on. So yeah, low poly, and it also depends. Like if you're using Unreal, then you don't have to be as low poly as WebGL. But if you want it to be in both, for example, so say for example you want to make an asset that can be in the metaverse and then the high polygon for for Unreal, for example, like the techniques that we're going to be looking at today, and probably next week, would be ideal because then you have like your high poly, very clean version for Unreal, which needs the client and all the rest of it, and then you have the version that you can use as a VRM in a WebGL space like Spatial or Mona, and Hyperfay and all the rest of it. And then you get the middle ones, which is kind of like VR chat. So it's client-based, but it just doesn't have the Unreal capabilities that that Unreal does. So yeah, what's your target end design to that? And if you can design in like multiple, then you sort of like hit the jackpot, really. So yeah, retopology and baking would be kind of the things you're looking at, I think. So we'll be looking at that today. So stay tuned for that. So basically what we're doing, and this is where it gets... Mona is free. You can make spaces. You can mint them and sell them. You can have events for free. Yeah. No, Mono would be good for that sort of thing. But yeah, completely free. I have a catwalk space that I sort of did quickly. I wanna clean it up and make it a lot better. But it's been used for a few events, which have been pretty cool. I might try something. I don't think I haven't done this before, but I'm just gonna try it. I'm actually going to just dissolve, not delete, dissolve all the edges that I kind of actually want that, because you want that beveled as well, so I think that'd be good. Okay. In that case, yeah, check out Mona. Hang on, I'll put it in the docs for you. There we go. Welcome to Mona. So I want that one. Do I want that one? Kinda. These ones we don't want, so I'm going to get rid of that. I actually do want those ones because I want that to be beveled. So let's put those back. Just with K for a knife and then space to lock that in. This one's tricky. Let me get rid of these. This one. Yeah, I'll keep it and see how it goes. These ones we can get rid of, I think. Alright. Okay, cool. Get rid of these two as well. Right. So basically what I've done is I'm just removing all of the edge loops that I don't want to be beveled, so that when we put the what do you call it, the modifier on it, multi-resolution modifier, it'll like make a really clean bevel. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll find out very soon. So let's grab all of the edges and then bevel with this one. Now it's quite small on the sofa, but I like that. I think that's good. We'll put a 3, maybe 4. Once again, it doesn't matter about the poly count, so we can make it as good or bad as we want. Yeah, that's kind of bigger, eh? Yeah, let's do more. I want a softer sofa. One thing we will do before doing that, though, is Control A to do all scale. I found out recently, what was it for? Working with avatars and stuff. Sometimes if you do the old transforms, like unless you want to move the pivot to there as well, I think just doing scale. So I'm getting into the habit of just using apply scale nowadays for reasons. There we go. Yeah, nice. Let's put smooth on that. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, we got some issues there, but that's not too much of a problem. Yeah, don't mind that. Let's look at some of the modifiers. I think I always get mixed up with this, especially when it comes to the sculpting side of it. So I need to do the tutorials as well about sculpting in ZBrush, but I think it's multi-resolution. So I'm just going to do this a couple of times. And that looks a lot nicer. Apart from that. Now, the reason for that, though, is because this doesn't have a joint. And this is where it gets a bit messy with bevels and all that sort of stuff, is it's not as intelligent as you want it to be. So you got that, right? And generally speaking, just adding more bevels will do it, kinda. So it's really quite a little bit frustrating, to be honest. So I'm not the best at this kind of modeling, but let's try a couple of things. To see if we can clean it up. Once again, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Yeah. So, I'm sure there are better ways to do it. I don't know. Oh, hang on. There's a bevel. I think there's a bevel thing, right? Cool. I want to give it a shot. There we go. Problem solved. Okay. Let's do this. Segments 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's so much nicer. Thank you, Blender, for being awesome. What are the types are there? Yeah, I think offset works well. Alright. That's nice, isn't it? Alright, use the bevel modifier. Problem solved. That's pretty good. And then we could add the multi-resolution on top of that, for example. Ah, okay, hang on. Yeah, so because this isn't applied, so I'm going to try that. Apply. Yeah, so that doesn't work as well as I'd hoped. No. That's fine. Yeah, dumb. Now what I'd like to do, I actually do want to put sort of that edging around it. Now that's going to be pretty tricky, actually. I could do it with a boolean, not a boolean, a curve. So I might try that as well, but we'll see, I think. That seems, well, I might sculpt these once we get to that. Let's see what happens when you apply. Yeah, so we got that. I would like that smooth, please. I can change the profile. That's cool. Ooh, that's interesting. Bevel does some cool stuff. Got to admit. The other thing is, and what I'll probably do, because when you're designing, this is a trick of texturing, and I'll be baking my asset in Substance Painter because it's amazing. But there is a choice you can make between making the detail. If you're looking at an element that is not part of the silhouette, so when you're designing a low polygon, the main thing you're looking at is the silhouette of the object, because the normal map will bake all of the detail. So things like this, like edging here, for example, I'm not going to make a low poly asset that covers that. And potentially it could be cleaner and easier to make that particular detail in Substance Painter. So I'll probably do that because I'm lazy. Okay, that's cool. I'll leave it as bevel for now. You got some cool stuff there, though. All right. So that's that and that. So that's kind of the softness of it. And I might look at cushioning some of these up a bit. So, yeah, let's do that. So let's go to Edit. Let's go 5, maybe. Control R to add edge libs. Now, another useful tool in Blender, especially, I'm going to make this X-ray so I select them all. Grab the middle two, middle one, on all three, and use proportional editing with maybe a sphere. So I'm going to move that up, and that sphere is way too big. So I'm going to first put X on, so Kind of that what we want to do. That looks good. Let's do the same with these ones. That's good. Do we want that to be slight? Yeah. Maybe a little bit. I think it's connected only because if I move that up, the top cushion is also done, which I actually don't mind. No, we'll get that sort of squishiness. So if we do connected only, it's only the base. So that's kind of what we want. So GZ. I don't want the bottom to be done it. Is there another option? I thought there was a... Is that a ZBrush thing? I think it's a ZBrush thing. Oh. That's fine. Cool. Alright, so... got the squishies. Now, let's have a look. Is there anything else we need for the softness on this? Not really. I think that's good. Let's try, because it's on the bevel and we can do stuff, we can see if this actually improves anything. Like so. Yeah, it sort of cuts up there. So one approach that might clean it up is if I just go up. Looks a bit neater. Yeah, that works. Okay, cool. So let's change this to, so far, let's just call that one the soft one. So far, cushions. Naming is everything. All right, now let's... I just want to do one of these, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And then mirror it. Mirror. Cool. Alright, now. This one is all about hard bevels. And just the top lines there. Let's try it again. This is going to be very small. Yep. Get rid of X-ray. Ah, okay. So if we wanted it to be less, it doesn't matter. No, we'll leave that as is. That's fine. Yeah, that looks good. No, I think I want it smaller actually. 0.001. Yeah, that's better. And I am going to reduce this because I do, just for the sake of cleaning this up. get rid of that. Because I do want that to go down. Down. What happened there? Okay, different approach. Move up. Done. Alright, cool. Looks neat. Next up, so what's that? Armrest. Switch. That'll do. Next up, what do we got? That one. Headboard. Bevel. And I believe 0.01 was good for that. Now it's very subtle, but it's kind of strange how that subtle does come up in the bake. So yeah, highly recommended to do these sort of things. Headrest. Next, this one, same again. Bevel. 0.001. Now the one thing we do need to do is select this one thing and then stretch these out a bit, basically. So if I go X, nah, that one, that one, that one, that one, scale X, put it out. Can I slide this one? I found this recently. It's like, yeah, great. No, it's only on the asset. Ah, that's annoying. Let's just scale that up a bit and then move it in a bit. Like so. That's good. On that, I'm just going to delete this one. I want to make sure that everything is mirrored still. So that's good. All right. Cool, cool. Armrest. Plate. That'll do. What's next? Ah, these ones. Now, for these ones, I'm just going to close these off. And add the bevel. That's good. So for legs, next one. This is all glowy. I think this is the glowy one. So on that then, let's actually get rid of that. That'll do for now, maybe. So if I glow, next, this one's pretty easy, just with the bevel. Oops, 0.001, because that's metal. Yeah. And last one. Also just metal. Cool. All right. Kind of done, to be honest. So things to consider. I want that like edge just to show what that looks like. I'm going to do that in Substance Painter. And it's not going to affect the silhouette. So Painter is fine for fine details like stitches and stuff like that. Yeah, choosing what you model and choosing what you texture, I guess, is a good way to do it. Is definitely part of the skill of a lot of this, I think. I kind of want to move that forward, actually. Yeah. All right. So we have a high polygon asset. Now, it doesn't look that much different, kinda, to the low poly, but it does have that little bit more element. And once again, we're going to be adding a lot of detail into the texture, and for that we need to bake. Now, the catch with this is we need to make a low polygon asset as well. And because I didn't copy this from the low poly, I'm going to have to do that. So I'll do that in just a second. Just trying to check if this is exactly what I want. And I think it is. I think it's pretty cool. So let's do that. Let's save that. And then basically apply all of these. Actually, no, I'm going to undo that. Except that one. Ah, that's annoying. Okay. So because I didn't collapse anything, all of these are still original models. So instead of retopology, I can actually use these. So I'm going to grab all of these. Yep. And Shift D, right click. And put them in a new collection. Like so. Then I can sort of just remove, hopefully anyway, get rid of the bevels. Now, trick, and this is pretty important. Instead of mirroring, I'm going to make one of them and then flip it after I've baked it, because then the texture can be bigger, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just remove that. So I've got this side. And I'll probably do that with any of the mirror assets or things that are duplicated. So the legs down the bottom, there are 4 things. But it's the same piece of information. So I'm going to make one and then just copy it after I've baked it. Now this one's a bit different because it's sort of part of a bigger thing. So I'm actually going to leave that one. So I'm going to apply that. Let's hide that one. There we go. Bevel, this one also. I can actually delete that one. So I will do that in a second. Glow doesn't have one. Headset kind of does. So I'm going to, I'm just removing these. And I'm going to have to get that from the original, but then everything else is good to go, I think. So let's go save as. No, because this is the same object, so I can just go save. Save. So we got our lows and our highs. But I need to open my low and grab this. So let's see. That's a little complicated actually, but we'll give it a shot. Actually, I'm going to use this opportunity to teach you something. So unfortunately, we shouldn't have done this. I collapsed the bevel on this one. But what I'm going to do is sort of use, if you were doing a character or another asset, or you were sculpting or whatever, retopology is basically your go-to for a lot of these assets. And super useful to do that by make a cube, delete most of it, and then all we need to do is grab the polygons, and we're going to use this one. So we're using magnet, so snap this one to face. So when you press G, it will snap to the object under it, like so. And basically this is how I, anyway, will create most assets and we can mirror this as well. And if we wanted to, I could actually mirror the whole thing. So basically this takes up all the texture because we're using a sort of one, like the one-on-one thing. So with the low polygon asset that we created last week, like each color was like one polygon, like a few pixels. But in this case, because we're using normal map, the whole 0 to 1 texture space will be used to bake this information into it. SY0, just to square that up. And then basically all we're doing is kind of tracing the 3D object. So G for sort of getting that in there. Now, if you're using a more complicated asset, I guess you could say, it's all about the silhouette. So I've spoken about that so far a couple of times, where talking about the silhouette is the main thing that you're looking at. For the low poly, because the bake, as in baking the information into the high poly, no, the low poly, is the magic of this approach. Nope. There we go. What's going on there? Anyway, not important. And because you got the snap tool, and just like E to export the elements, E again, we can sort of kind of make an asset quite quick. Now, if this is over a character, for example, then you would have all of the elements like tracing the nose and sort of creating that silhouette of the object. And then you bake the high quality detail, being the skins and the wrinkles and all of that sort of stuff. Now, another one that's useful with the F tool, which is the add-on preferences up here, F2, make sure that's on. If I select this and you have like an empty gap, if I just press F, it will just make it for you. Oops, not again. Now we're going to do some interesting stuff there, so I'm just going to sort of F these elements. Kind of wish it didn't have that hotkey with that name in mind, but here we go. And G, moving that down there. So basically using all the tools that we've used last week and today to trace your high poly. So E on that one, for example. And the key with this one is snap and to face. F, snaps to there. So it's pretty fast. Now, more complicated assets do require more time, of course. And like a character takes, like this takes a good while if you're doing this with a character. But luckily we're not. So the F button is really useful and fast because like the placement of it is already kind of decided. Because you can just track on the asset itself. The catch is that if you're doing some things, is it might not play that nice sometimes. So keep that in mind. And you can just turn that off and then turn it back on. So that happens a fair bit. So that's it. The element here, this is a lot of normal map stuff. So how can I do this? Okay. Hang on, while I pull up my little sketchy thing. Do I have that? I do. Okay. So, when you're doing normal maps, basically, so basically the, let's say the low polygon, I'm going to make that a straight line because that looks like a terrible low polygon. So let's say you have a low polygon. So this is a sort of a profile cut version. And let's do the high polygon sort of down here. And for this one, I'm actually going to make a bad version with a sketch. So let's say the high polygon. So this is the low polygon asset, which is just one polygon. And then we have the high polygon asset, which I'm going to do sort of this approach. All right. That works. So what normal maps do is basically project information down here, for example, like so. So every pixel will be projected, this information will be going up, and the normal, so the angle of this, will be projected to it. So this will be sort of flat, this will be flat, this will be flat, this will be flat. Let's put one here. So all of these ones will be sort of angled, and this will be flat again. The problem with this part here is that it wouldn't see this because the projection is only straight. So if you had, let's do yellow. So if you had the projection of this on the asset, it would actually look like sort of flat there because there's no projection of information. That would look like it goes up because that is there. And then that. Okay, so straight lines down for normal maps from retopology, or baking the information onto the low polygon. Hopefully that makes sense. This is not what you need. So let's get that. Let's get rid of all of this. So another approach, and this is what I would probably recommend, and this is what we're going to do here, is the low polygon would be something like, why is that yellow? Make it blue. There we go. So the low polygon would be, so you kind of want it on the asset. So let's say we're tracing that, we're tracing that, we're tracing that, and we're tracing that, and we're tracing that. Now that's a little too much. Like that's polygons, 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 polygons. So I'm going to get rid of that one. And what you might be able to do is sort of like do polygon there, polygon there, polygon there, and polygon there, which is a bit better. So you cut those off. Now, the reason we do that is because if I'm projecting down on the normal of the low polygon, you're basically sort of doing that. So, what can I try and do this? So this information would be kept in the low polygon of the high polygon onto the low polygon because of the difference in that normal. Now, I don't know if that makes sense, but we're going to look at a practical application of this in a second. So let's get rid of that. Okay. So what I'm going to do, the reason I do this is I don't want to have like all of that. I want to make this actually very, very optimized, because that's the goal, optimized assets. So first I'm going to collapse the scale because I want to, yeah, insert faces. To about there. There. And then I can move these around. get rid of that one because that goes all the way to there. Back to tracing. Okay. So the thing is, because this is all quite a little bit complicated, I could extrude this in. But instead, because there is no silhouette, you will basically never see this. What I'm gonna do instead, just to save those polygons, because there's quite a few elements here. So let's extrude that back to the line. And that's actually a good point. I'm gonna have to hide the glow. Let's put that on. There we go. So EX, turn that off. Be careful when you use bevel on this sort of asset on the grounds that you do it, right mouse click, and sometimes it'll still be there. So as a poly count thing, like if you're creating an asset that's poly count based, be careful with that. So it's about there. Now what I'm going to do though is, instead of having all of that, I'm actually going to shrink this. So merge at center. So it saves, like, for each edge of this, it'll save 2. So it adds up over time. Once again, not that important, but hopefully it sort of shows what you can do when it comes to optimizing baked assets. And this will make more sense in a second, to be honest. So I'm going to put that down there. Now we've got this one, which is a bit of an interesting one. So I'm actually going to kind of, oh no, because it's there. Just move that across a bit. That's fine. Hide the sofa. Find out what's going on here. Let's just grab, okay. Because you can't see it, I can't snap it. Okay, fine. Delete. F and then F. That works. Much better, okay. So we basically have retopologized asset, which is what we want. Now, so I'm going to mirror this because I want this to be really high quality. So I'm going to keep that as is. So the whole process of retopologizing to high poly sort of creates kind of a mess, to be honest. Especially if you're doing like highly optimized, right? So this is a larger asset, like this particular part of the asset. There's a lot of it. So I want the texture size, like the space on the texture, to be as much as possible. So mirroring and flipping is one way to do that. So we're going to sort of do that approach to it. So I can actually get rid of this one now. Yeah. And just to make sure, I'm gonna make this clean, right? So yeah, we got that. which is not ideal. So I'm going to put clipping on, GY, sort of blend that in the middle. Okay, cool. Now, small note on this. So now that that's all clean in the middle, that's what we want. I'm actually going to remove this because what I want, it's a bit of a weird one, is to extrude this across. Now, the reason for that is, it's best to show it, but the reason I'm going over is because when you're doing the normal map or baking the information onto the high poly onto low poly, if you have a seam like a mirror, you will get a weird glitch, if you could say, if that makes sense. So it's very clear that it's kind of mirrored. Now, if I extend that normal goes across. So when you delete this and then mirror it, it's a smooth blend. It'll make more sense once I get to that part. So I'm just going to leave that there. And let's clean up the rest of it. So Sova, that's the new Sofa Soft. Yeah, that's fine. We could even, once again, remove some of the assets here. Some of the polygons. Because it's going to overlap. So let's just move that down a bit. GZ. Down to there. Move that across as well. Yeah, let's flatten that one as well. Let's mirror the whole thing. See if it works. Scale. Y. 0. Done. G. Y. Back. And once again, we're going to put that little bit on the extra there. So basically, we're going to double the resolution because we're halving it now. That's a good way to describe it. I like that. Now, some of this will be messy in the texture, but that's fine because you'll never see it. So that's fine. Not too worried about that. Let's put this in here as well. Okay, so there's two. Next one. Now, this is a good example of the copy. So I'm actually going to delete 3 of them with the X-ray mode on. Because we just want to bake that one. Now, oddly enough, we do not need the top, so I can actually delete it on that one. We needed the top for the bevel to work. So I got that. This one, again, we can clean up this. So what I'm going to do is Control R. Once again, just mirroring everything. Put that there. EY. So we get that sort of overlap element. The other thing we need to do is kind of not do that. What? Oh, that flipped it. Okay. There we go. And just to save on polygons, I'm gonna nope. That's center. And then with that, you can just go Shift R, and that will do whatever the last kind of thing was. So that saves a bit of time with hotkeys. Hotkeys are mostly your friend. So that's that there. So I can move that to the front. Put that there. That way you sort of get the depth, which is cool. But you save a fair bit of polygons. So that's what we want there. What's going on here? Okay. So that one's done. The glow. Sure. Let's halve that as well. Might not need to do this. We're going to clean these up anyway, so that's fine. Actually, let's do the same with this as well. Now, the other thing we're going to need to do is kind of break up a lot of this. So different assets don't really bake into other assets. Now this one, we're actually going to get rid of these ones. So Control L, delete that. For that. So we need this one and we need this one, but then we can just flip that one over there. So that's good. Arm plates. That's fine. Base plate. Now the base plate is actually all under the other assets, so I'm going to once again just delete some of these and hope that it doesn't get seen. That's good. I will leave the base. One approach, if you're making a space and this sofa was going in it and you can't move it, you will never see underneath it. So you could delete it to save those polygons. But because I'm creating an artifact and say, for example, you might put this on a floor that's made of glass and being able to see under it, you don't want people to see through your assets. So it really depends on what you want to save your polygons on. But the top bit, because it's all going to be covered with the chair, you've got that. And then we've got this. Do we want to... Yeah. I kind of want to see how well this approach to optimizing normals will go. So I'm actually going to use it everywhere I can. Actually, with that one, I might actually just put that in the center, like so. That'd be cool. In a bit, and those two as well. Cool. All right. So you see the depth, you'll get the normal because it's all projected on like that. Actually, where's the that one. Okay. So, case in point. Let's do this as well. So that goes sort of there-ish. Let's combine these two. Combine these two. and then blend those two. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is actually just make sure that's actually on the plate, if you call it. So I'm just going to put the snap back on and just press G. So it is on the glowy thing. Hopefully this should be. There we go, that's what we're after. Okay, excellent. I can also get rid of that one. So let's see how it looks. That one, what's going on with this one? Once again, it's taking a lot of space, so I'm actually going to delete that. Move it to the middle. Extend. Just noticing some other ones that may not be extended yet. Oh, that one is. Yep, that one is. Ah, they're not. Yep, okay. Make it all to the line. Ah, snap's still on because it's going glitchy. Okay. Done. So that is our low poly. Now here is a good example of the... Oh, these are high. Ah, oops. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of those because those are collapsed. I don't want that, but I do need them. So let's try that again. So let's remove that. Nope. Yeah. Much better. Get rid of that one. Faces. Now. I can't... And this is talking about the silhouette. So each... It's subtle. The front one. So there is a difference there. I think that's very important. This one, though, it doesn't really make much of a difference at all. So I'm actually going to get rid of the middle one. Like so. So if I go delete, dissolve edges, the silhouette there didn't really change at all. But if I deleted these ones, it kind of does a little bit more. But there's quite a lot of polygons, so I'm actually going to get rid of those two as well, I think. It's subtle, but no one will know. So that's good. That's good. So that's a lot better. So this is a good example of the silhouette issue, where if the silhouette doesn't change, the normal map will kind of make the difference. And with WebGL spaces, the poly count is king. With Unreal spaces, with the nanite technology, not so much. So is that. Okay. So, from what we've looked at, we've basically looked at retopology, which is basically tracing your high polygon, which we did with the main asset here. Luckily for us, or luckily for me, all of the other ones were just taking off the bevel modifier. So that was a bit quicker. So there's two different approaches to how you create your assets. And taking them to the low poly stage from the high poly stage. I usually use retopology. That's my usual go-to. That's also because a lot of the time I've spent in character creation. We've also done a couple of tutorials on that. For example, retopologizing a photogrammetry asset. With Sam a long time ago. That was pretty fun. And things like that. So, many different ways. Choose the one that's best for the asset you're creating. Alright. What's going on here? There's something going on here. Okay. Ah, that's the glow. Which we don't need. Because this is the text, this is the model that we're baking onto, and the glow is what's going on there. And the glow is just a high polygon, so it doesn't really matter too much about that one. I'm just going to try this to get that sort of better. All right. Cool. Done and done. Some other shortcuts. I'm going to actually join these two. Once again, just to reduce the poly count. Because all we care about is the bake. What information gets put on to the other one. So you can really cut some corners on this. Let's get rid of those two. Can I just do that? Yep. The catch with this, though, is there's a lot of texture area in there that's not going to get used. So that's kind of like a question of poly count versus texture size, I guess you could say. So here we can move that one down, or these two there. So let's do that. So that can bake to there, so that's fine. And texture size is pretty important. Like, a lot of the decisions I've been making are basically because of the poly count. So let's do a bit of optimization there so we can get more texture on our asset. Space on that one, and let's just do that. So we're actually saving this much texture space, if that makes sense. So I'm going to delete that. Faces. And then just kind of clean these up a little bit. Not too important, but I like to do that. Like so. Now that one, will you ever see Yeah. So I'm going to keep that just because of that. But what I might do is I might reduce that UV map because it needs to be there because of that angle and that angle kind of thing. But it's not important at all. So I can tweak that UV a little bit if I want to. I'm just gonna move that down a bit, I think. Just make sure it overlaps. That's fine. Okay. Alright, for the purposes of today, I think this is fine. So, the next thing I'm going to do is break everything apart. Now, the reason for that is I don't want these cushions... Oh, I kind of do, I guess. So this is where you need to decide what... When you bake, everything is kind of together. So if I want the ambient occlusion, which is like the darkness in sort of shadowy areas, to overlap other assets, and I kind of do with this one, I guess, then you keep it all together. But another approach to it is you actually separate them. So this one wouldn't affect the shadows on this one, and then bake them sort of separate. But I actually want to. So, yeah, we can actually join all of these. Do we want that to be clean? How clean do we want that to be? Let's join it and find out. Okay. So for this session, what I'm probably going to do is just unwrap. So we can get the UVs on this done. And then we can look at baking next week. I think that's a good way to do it. So they're all joined. Let's call it sofa low. I'm going to control A scale just to make sure that all of this is good, because that will be important when I'm unwrapping it. You can... How do you do that otherwise? Yeah. Object. Apply. Here we go. So Control A scale. So it's up there as well, but I use Control A because I do this a lot. Because when you scale and move and do all things around, it doesn't know that it's scaled around. So Control A just says this is the scale of the object. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to grab all of that. Cool. And then go UV editing. Smart UV project. Go. Right. So that's the quick version. And it's actually not that bad. So I can put something in. You can't see what I'm pointing at. I can put something in here and maybe a little bit in here just to like scale that a bit. That big thing here, where is it? Let me find that one. That one? Nope. That one? Nope. That one. That one. Control L. I'm going to put this on so I can see where that is, which is what we want. So we want that one to actually be very small because it uses up a fair bit of space, but it's kind of not seen. So let's put it down there. So if you have this double arrow thing, what you select here and what you select here will be sort of like, you'll see them both, if that makes sense. Not sure what this one is though. Ah, there it is there. Okay. Yeah, we can leave them, that's fine. But let's put that somewhere else. So in there. So basically, when you're baking, your entire assets map or texture needs to be within this 1 by 0 UV map. When you're using trim sheets, that's when you can start doing interesting stuff. Either put it really small or really big for tiling. So these are very different approaches to making a texture. Sorry. Just saw a thing, didn't know what I was talking about. Anyway, so basically we want to get this in as much as possible. Now, small note, actually big note. Seams are very a little bit obvious depending on how well the baking works. Seams are 100% a thing. So if there's an edge here, and it doesn't look like there is, actually there is. That's the other thing I need to do because I forgot about that. Okay. Avoid everything I said. I'm going to do this again because you do not want assets that are not connected to have that line. You want a bit of space. So I'm going to do UV Smart Project again, but I'm going to put island margin as in 0.1 and see how that goes. Too big. So let's go 0.001. A bit small. So 0.002. Yeah, maybe 3. I think 0.03 might be the way to go. Okay, go. Now, the reason for that is when you're baking, it's going to bleed out into the space. So if you have two that are connected, there's nowhere to bleed. There's no margin. That does feel... And it also depends on the size of your texture. So I think I want to keep this to like something pretty small, so 512. But I might bake it at 2048 and then scale down. Either way, I think I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Yeah. So that's good. Now, so the seams are a thing. Now, for example, key aspects. You want as few seams as possible. So when it comes to this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of this. And then hide everything else with Control, nope, Shift H. Nope. H? Nope. Alt H. Nope. Grr. Okay. So basically what I want to do is hide the seams. So I'm going to kind of remove that one, these ones, and then go mark seam, which is red. I also want that one and that one. Nope. Mark seam. And let's go with these three as well. Now, the reason I'm doing it on this particular one is because it's a key element. Like, that's something that you'll see the most of. So I'm going to do that again. So the fast approach is just Smart UVs, and that would work. No issue. But I'm going to do one example at least, with the time I have, to show you the benefits of, once again, spending the time on it to get that better effect. So those are good. Same with, let's say, these ones, I think. Mark the seam. So I find unwrapping, like using mark seam, really good for a lot of these sorts of things. And the reason I'm sort of cutting in all 4 directions, like that one and that one, is because I don't want, what do you call it? Things. What is it? Stretching, that's the one. And it'll make more sense once I unwrap this. So let's just grab those, mark that. Okay. So, Control L, unwrap. So there you go. So these will be much better when it bakes because the seams are not so clear. Like so. Let's get rid of that. And again, all of these need to be inside that space. So let's grab that and then just go UV, I think pack. Is there a pack? Pack islands. That's what we want. But I have a feeling that this is not to scale. Now for that, actually, let's do this. I'm going to create a new one. Make it a UV grid. Let's go 2048 by 2048. And then just go grid. Grid. And then go OK. So I've got that. Now let's go to our so far in shading and add our node, our texture node. Add input, no, texture, input texture, image texture. There. Make that the base color and then make that the grid. Good example there. Let's hide that. So as you can see, this the thing you need, unless you want to do specific cases, for example, under that thing, is this all needs to be the same size. So for that, let's go to, it's really hard to see, these 4, and then scale them down so it's kind of the same size as everything else, roughly. Maybe there. There we go. That's good. Now I'm hoping what I'm worried about is it's just going to do that. No. Yeah, that's good. Are those the same? They're close. That's fine. So that's good. So as you can see, the seam here as well, there is no seam. Like, it goes straight over, which is great. But if you look at here, there is a seam. Now, when you bake it, that won't be as obvious, but it might show up. So you kind of want the seams where seams should be. So if you're doing cloth and stuff, like, do it where you would get a seam. But there's that. Okay. Next thing we need to do is kind of nope. just want nothing. Where's nothing? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is optimize this as much as possible. I am going to put a new image because just blank for that. That's a lot easier to work with. So basically we're going to do some Tetrising. Sure there's a better word for it. I don't know what it is. To get all of these assets in the smallest space possible. So let's grab that one. Does that fit in there? Yeah. And once again, make sure there's a little bit of space between them all, because that's pretty important. And there is, so that's good. Let's put that down there. So basically we're really getting into the optimization here. You want to be as little space as possible because your textures will be that much better and the information more aligned with kind of what you're trying to do. So let's go there. Actually, let's go that way. I think that might be better. Perfect. It always feels really good when you get this really nice. And then there is a, what is it, negative returns thing. But, I don't know, it's kind of fun. A lot of people hate it, but I actually don't mind it. I've come to enjoy it. Okay. So much wasted space. Can we... Like, that's problematic. Yeah, that's good. If we can move that, that's great. Cool. All right. A little bit bigger. Just a little bit. Done. Okay, so that's not bad. So all the space you don't want. What you do want is to cram this in as much as possible. So we can bake the information into the texture as much as possible. So that's not bad. Okay. I don't have time. Can I bake this in 7 minutes? Let's find out. So with that baked, like technically, yeah. Sure, let's... Now these bake, like these are not... Hang on, where are we off for this one? Okay. Now when you export an FBX, I'm not sure if the modifier gets added or not, so I'm going to save this and save it as a new version because we're going to start doing the last version of this. So let's go high, not 2. Go. And basically we're going to collapse everything. So apply, 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 apply. Nope. Apply. 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 And that one's already baked. Now, it doesn't really matter if this is one object or many, so I'm just going to export that. I'm going to Control A that one all transforms as well, just to make sure the transform is correct. And let's do a quick bake, see what happens. Future so far high, that one. Selected objects, we don't want the low, we just want the high. And I'm going to put that on there because there's no animation or rig. And then we're going to do the same with this one. So, file, export, FBX, future so far, low. Substance Painter. Let's go. I buy Substance Painter on Steam in one of their many sales because it's cheaper and it's yours. Adobe subscriptions, not a big fan of. But I am a big fan of Substance Painter. So. What was the other one? There was another one called Armor Paint, which is free. I haven't used it before. I should look into that, though. That's a pretty good texturing. I don't know how good the baking is. Or if it does it at all. So there's that. But yeah. Big fan of Substance Painter. Oh, I didn't change the size of the texture. Dang it. I could have saved the space. Oh well. Yeah, I've heard it. Well, I haven't heard much about it, actually. And high memory. I should say that before I just sound like I'm talking to myself. Armor Paint. Well, one is free. So, like, what do you want? So there's that. But it definitely probably wouldn't be as good as Substance Painter for all the reasons. So, let's have a look. New. The render pipeline is not so important, but I do keep it on Unity. You select the low polygon asset, which is so for low, open. I'll keep it at 2048. Some people will bake at the size that you're doing. Some people will scale it down, like depends on the approach. Could try both, see which one's better. Yeah, blend, like, you can, I'll say it again. I don't like baking in Blender because the materials are a little bit quirky, I think. You 100% can. I've done, like, there's definitely workshops on that. Ooh, forgot one thing. Make sure that your base object has shade smooth on it. Generally recommended. So I'm going to have to import that again. So you can see the edges here. It doesn't really matter because it will bake, but you can see those hard edges if it bakes in a certain way. So I'm going to do that again, actually. You can actually do that after with project configuration. So I can just go here and change the file. And go, okay. And then it's all smooth. So that's great. So that's what we want. That looks good. What's going on there? Ah! Okay. I would have to fix that. And we'll do so. But I want to show the baking. This is meant to be quick. I just want to do cool stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. I've heard Marmoset, like, the best bakers are Marmoset, Toolbag, and Substance Painter, to my knowledge. So, yeah. So what do we got? So let's go back to that, actually. Return to painting mode. So, if you haven't done baking in Substance Painter before, you import your model, you see your UVs. I could do some cool stuff there, but I want to see the result. So go to sofa, make sure texture settings is selected, and go down to bake mesh maps. This comes up. Now this is all a bit new. They've changed a few things. So turn off all the bakes you don't want, but if you're doing textures and all that sort of stuff, I just leave them as is. The main one is up here. Go to high definition meshes, and we want to load our high polygon asset. Ta-da. Well, this is new. Now we may need to separate these, but we'll see how it goes. Once again, there's a bit of cleaning up that I might need to do. It's hard to do a high polygon asset in 2 hours. I'll say that much. So they've had a cage, which is kind of cool. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, right. Ta-da. So it bakes all those, and we can go back to painting mode, and then we have a high poly asset. Done, finished, ship it. So you got that, for example. So the polygon count, I think that's a... Like, that looks good. Mostly. That looks great. That looks a little finicky, so I might have to figure out why that is. But for the most part, it's not bad. But here's a good example of where normal maps are a little bit interesting. Because you have the cage... So if you look at that, because you have the cage is what's projecting information down. There's a whole thing about figuring out how to navigate that. So if I look on the side, that doesn't look great. So I may have to figure out how to clean that up or separate them. So I move that up and then bake that into it. So that might be a way around that. Cushions look great. But this is a prime example of why I might want to separate this as well, is because that bit sort of gets projected onto the top. That all looks nice. This looks good. Yeah, pretty happy with that. This looks excellent. Very happy with that. I actually don't mind that. Like, it shows like there's a bit of a thing, but no, I actually like that. That's actually cool. Up here, that looks excellent. Big fan of that. Yeah. Yes, you can. So you got that. So red is bad. In that, like, it's not projecting. So you probably want to get it as close as you can. So this would probably be better for a lot of it. So give that a shot. Rear distance, not too sure what that one does. Can't really see it, so I'm going to undo that. Leave that as is. And then just rebake it. You can also put... so the first pass of any aliasing put on, like, nothing, because it's, like, this slows things down quite a bit. So you can definitely do that. Now, super useful tool. If you're doing separate meshes... So say, for example, I did want to... Why can't I move that up? There we go. Say I did want to break the sofas up into different assets because they're going to move, or I just wanted them clean, like that sort of thing. You would make 4 assets. So you would have, say, sofa base low, sofa base... sorry, because the naming is important. Sofa base underscore low, sofa base underscore high, cushions underscore low, cushions underscore high. Now, the reason for that is because you've got this match tool, which allows you to by mesh name. Now, I can change this, like what words I'm looking for. So low and high. And then it will sort of bake them separately, which makes it really clean. So that's super useful for complex assets like a character or even a sofa where I wanted the cushions to be separate, where the ambient occlusion or the shadow on this asset won't affect this asset. So it's a really good, quick thing that I think only Painter has. But this is one asset, so we don't need to do that. So I'm going to put... Now I'll put it on 16 for time. Everything's fine. There's a bunch of settings. Like all of these have, or many of these have like their own custom settings. But we'll just do common settings, leave it at that, and then bake again. So fast. They've really cleaned it up. Okay, back. Let's see. Yeah, so that one's a bit trickier. So I think for this one, I would actually remove it and keep that as a separate one. But a lot of these assets are a lot nicer now with anti-aliasing. Yeah. You know, that's cool. You know what? I'm going to do some texturing. I'm enjoying this. This is fun. It's a long session because it's a fun session. All right. Now, big thing with this kind of application. This took a little while to get my head around. You don't paint things. You put the material on and then mask it. Is the best way to describe it. So, with that in mind, let's go to some cooler... what do you call them? Textures. Smart textures. These one take the curvature and all these sort of things in mind to do cool things. So we need to go to layers. That's what we need. And then we put that on. And then you have... That's pretty funny. But it takes like edges in consideration, all sorts of stuff. It's great. It's amazing. Magic, if you will. Okay, let's be a little. So, aluminium. I want sort of like a darker, cooler steel scratched. That's cool. Yeah, I kind of want it for this. And we kind of want it newer though, right? Yeah. Silver armor. Yeah, that's the one we want. Okay, so you didn't do that. So we have a chrome futuristic sofa, which is pretty fun. But after that, you go to right mouse click and then go add black mask. White mask. So everything or nothing. Well, actually, let's just leave that one. Because we want some sort of sofa-y type stuff. Fabric. Stretchy sci-fi. Perfect. I want the scale of that to be a bit better. Hexagon pattern. Tiling. Go 10. Why isn't that working? Okay, let's try that again. What does that one look like? No. Kind of want the futuristic one. Cool. And then, how do I scale again? Okay. Ah, interesting. Oh no, that's it. That's it. Is it a different tile? Okay, let's try this approach. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's just keep that. Maybe? I don't know, man. What does the future look like? Yeah, maybe that one. Okay. So base color, but the tiling doesn't seem to make any difference. Why? There we go. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's good. Not that one. Not that one. Yeah, not sure why that one doesn't scale. But let's keep that because I think that's actually kind of what I want it to be. That's kind of cool. All right, so this is one where we do want to do some masking. So I'm going to add a white mask. Yeah. And then I'm going to select this one, I think it is, polygon fill. And basically select all of the ones nope, that one. It is that one. That make up the now that's not working because it's on black, so I'm going to put that there, and then we can start doing that. So yeah, there's a couple of things you have to make sure you're doing right, I guess, in Substance Painter, but once you do, you can do cool stuff. Like, very cool stuff. And then put that back up if you make the wrong one. Put that back down, and then you got that. That's kind of what we want to do. Now that is a bake from the block, which is actually what we want because we're going to drop that over the top of it. So that's fine. Let's do that one as well. Good, good. I have to get that. Yep, good. All of these ones, which is this basically. So I'm going to do that. That one as well. Cool. Up here, this is all metal as well. Cool. And that one. And can I get that one? Yes, I can. All right. So we have our kind of beginnings. Now let's get some glow in there. Glass visor sounds fun. That's the future right there. Let's go black and then add the white. So I'm hoping we can sort of just speed up the approach with that. That's good. So I guess one consideration you could make in regards to how your polygons, if you have the polygon spare, that's a bit messy, but that's fine. I'll clean it up in a sec, is just this. Pretty cool. Don't mind it. Now, these ones, this is where you have to start like cleaning up manually, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna get my brush. I'm gonna, what am I gonna do? Attributes. I want to make stroke opacity flow. Where's the one that I always? Hardness. I don't know why they put it all the way down the bottom. It's actually quite annoying. Holding control, you can change that pretty easily. A common thing I will do is select the right color. Is it this one? Yeah. Up the top. Yep, that's what we want. So I'll click and then go up here, hold control, and is it control? Hang on. Hold shift. In order to sort of line graph it. Now it might have some issues with what would you call it? Seams or edges, I guess you could say. So I'm going to put that down there. A little bit too fine. So that will help a lot with what you're doing with all of this. Oh, that's good. Now I can, if I want to, edit up here as well. So I got lots of options in regards to how you tweak. So that's interesting. I have to. Oh, that's a. Okay, there's a polygon missing as well. I'd have to clean that in Blender. So that's why that's glitching. So yeah. Making some cool stuff. Same up here. So let's find that. Where's that? Okay, this one's a bit finer. So let's make a finer brush. Now we want to make that all the way, so let's just do that. So yeah, just cleaning up the asset as best you can. Now here is a good example of the, I think, not sure why actually. Let's see if I can find any of that. So I've got some, yeah, glitchy bits there. So I'd have to clean that up. I'd have to go back, clean that up. Same there, there's a missing piece there. So you get the seam element. So yeah, seams are a pain. I'll say that much. Okay. I don't like the sofa material anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. But I'm going to keep that layer because I want to grab that mask moving forward. So, what else do we have? Camo. Not really me. Latex. Nah. Rubber. Leather? Yeah. Not very futuristic, is it? Actually, the one I want might be on this one. There we go. Fabric. How about just fabric? And then scale that down. Down. Yeah, don't mind that. Let's grab this. So go right mouse click, copy, mask. Add black mask. And then paste into mask. And then we can get rid of these two. Yeah, alright. Don't mind it if I can scale it up more. So the problem there is you start seeing the tile, which I don't really want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at 20. Yeah. And then I'm going to sort of rotate it. So like diagonal is more interesting, I think, than straight. So we've got that. Do we want a color? Yes, I think we do. Slight blue tinge, maybe. Yeah, that works. That'll do for now. So with that in mind, let's take this back and get it into Mona, I guess. So up here we have export textures. Where do we want to put these? Let's go workshops down to asset creation. Let's just put it there. Now here we have, I usually use the Unity Universal Render Pipeline Metallic Standard. And we'll find out if that's the correct one. I can also change the size here if I wanted to, but I'm going to actually do that in Unity. So I can show that approach as well. Yeah, that's it. If you want to, you can actually completely tweak the export assets. So you can sort of look at, is it normal, all that sort of stuff. But usually I'll just go with Unity Universal Render Pipeline, that's fine. So let's go export. Okay. Next, we need to duplicate this. Make a new collection, say. And then just call this final. Because we need to get rid of the looping elements and make those sort of final tweaks. So I'm going to get rid of those. We're going to get rid of that. Yeah. And then we're going to grab this one. So notice how the UV is there. But if we duplicate it, it's going to keep that information. So let's pull this one up. D, X, nope, Y. So that'll go there. Let's grab all of this one. Actually, let's grab all of this one. And just separate that. There's one way to do it. Because then I'm hoping we can just mirror this. Like so. let's grab all of these. Now that does, this line has to stay there. Scale Y0. Merge vertices by distance. 18, that looks right. So we're keeping that loop in there. So in the low polygon, we got rid of it because that's a polygon thing. But that one loop, which will like put a lot of polygons in there, saves a lot of the texture size. So it's definitely always a balance between how much space does it take in the UV versus how many polygons is it going to cost you, all that sort of stuff. So that's it. Ah, join. Done. Export FBX. Future so far, and we're going to name this one different because we don't want to get rid of the thing because we might keep at that. Export. Let's go, Mona. Do I have? I do. Excellent. Let's open that then. Can I do this in 4 minutes? I do not know. It'd be neat if I could. So that'll take a moment. Okay. So yeah, in 2.5 hours, we've basically looked at different approaches that you can use to make a high polygon asset, and then make the low polygon asset. And of course, it depends on how you make your high polygon asset, the low polygon asset, all of that sort of stuff. So there's no one way, which makes it very difficult to teach all of this because there's thousands of ways, and everything depends on like where does the polygon go and how does it work. But the end result allows you to make 2 sofas. All right, so what do we need? We need some textures. We've got those there, and some models. So let's put that in a new model thing because I got rid of it because it's in the prefabs now. Okay. Final. That one. So we need that. We also need that, that, and that. Textures. Now we need a new material. Right mouse click, material. So far, let's go high because we already have a low in there. And then drag these into our albedo, our normal, which will go fix now. And then hopefully this works. And it looks like it does. Excellent. So let's get our model here. Click on this, go to materials, and because we have a material, I'm going to put it on it like so. There's a couple of issues, but once again I can clean those up and then drag that in. Yeah. Now, if I wanted to put emissive, I could definitely do that. I won't be able to use this one because this is a completely different unwrap. So if you remember, this is like an 8x8 texture with a normal map to get that detail in there. This is a like 2048 by 2048 texture, but you have like this kind of fine detail in there as well. So you've got that. Now, if I was in Painter, I could sort of paint some of those like higher details that I was talking about. So as an example, I'm going to actually do a new fill layer, and I'm going to make that a black mask, and I'm going to do, I don't want color, I just want height, but I want the height to be high, and then go in here and then draw that. So I could the trick is seams. So if this didn't have a seam, that would be a lot easier to do. But you can already sort of see the detail that you're adding there. And of course, you could do it better, depending on the situation. So there are ways to do that. But I kind of like it as it is. So we'll go here. So it is possible to create an emissive channel, I think. I'm not too sure. Let's try that. Maybe not. Okay, so I would go into Photoshop and then just quickly make that over the top of that. If that makes sense. So yeah, two very different approaches. Now, optimization tip. If you're looking at textures, like this is a very large texture for like just one asset. So one way to navigate this, so this is like 2.7 meg. So let's see what happens when we go to 1024. So the difference isn't too big, but it's also 0.7 meg. So there's that. Metallic sofa, that's 5.3, but this one could go down much smaller because it's just like black and white basically. So let's go 512 and go apply. So there's a bit of fuzziness, but what I'm going to do is go point no filter, and that cleans that up again. So there's that approach, and that's down to 341k. So let's go back up to that. Does that make much of a difference? Oops. So let's check. Yeah, so that does make a bit of a difference. So I'm actually going to put that back up to 2024. So that's okay. And then if we go back up to that, not much of a difference. So I'm going to save me 4 meg just by doing that. Normal map's an interesting one depending on the detail. So in this case, we have that sort of fine grain of the asset. So let's go down to 1024. And let's try this again. That looks better. Yeah. So yeah, no point filter does actually make a big difference. Yeah, a bit better there. Okay, so we've reduced all of these from 2048, yeah, 2048, down to 1024, which is much better. The only one we didn't do, although let's try this. I'm going to put that on and then point no filter. Yeah, that's fine. Subtle, but fine. And then if you wanted to, you could put the normal map on that as well, because all of this texture is kind of the same size, or all of the same whatever. So let's go that one, and then go to this material and put it on there. Normal map. 0.2. 10. Yeah, so got that little bit of detail in there as well. A little bit too big, so let's put that down to like 0.3. And there you go. Two couches. Done. So yeah, those are kind of the two approaches to making assets, especially optimized ones. So one is the trim sheet approach, and one is the retopology and retopology and baking approach. I wanted that to be metal as well. Oh well. So yeah, this one looks better, sure, but for the cost, like this one. Actually, let's have a look at the poly count on these, because that might be interesting as well. So this one has 966 triangles. It's not much. It's fine. So the poly count's green, but the texture count, the texture file size is higher, like significantly. So if you look at this one, these are like 1 meg total, and most of that's because of the normal map. So if I got rid of the secondary map, which is only 460 meg, so this one's like 500k for the whole asset. This one would be bigger because these are like 1.3 meg and 0.7 meg. So it really depends on the kind of asset that you're making. So once again, choose your cost. So yeah, all right. Gonna wrap it up there, I think. Thanks for joining. Hope you learned something. I learned a couple of things. I'll probably once again I think I've put the sofa on the right in the library. I will clean up the one on the left because there was those a couple of those small polygon issues with the unwrapping. Some holes in the asset, which makes the bake a little broken. So basically, I'll take that to a completed version, and then get that on the library as well, so people can sort of see what they're about. So yeah, all right. Gonna wrap it up there for now. We'll save that. Thanks for joining, and happy building.